It is now 5:54 p.m. and we'll call this meeting of the OCPC Finance Committee to order. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. We also have a notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections that is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. I'll start by thanking Frank's staff here for showing up despite having a painful injury. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Mary, would you do the roll call?
I will. Becky Coletta.
Present.
Stephen Santusonio.
Present.
Frank Staffier.
Present.
Noreen O'Toole.
Present.
Sandra Wright.
Present.
Yolanda Spinola.
Present.
John Hayes.
Present.
And just for the record, the staff members, Charles Kilmer, Megan Fournier, Sean Noel, Brenda Robeson, and me. I think that's it. All right.
Thank you. Okay, the April 2023 meeting minutes is an action item. Just wondering if people have had a chance to review those from the email and if we have a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved, Becky.
I will
Thank
second
you.
that.
Thank you. Mary, roll call?
Becky Coletta.
Yes.
Stephen Santusonio.
Yes.
Frank Staffier.
Yes.
Noreen O'Toole.
Yes.
Sandra Wright.
Yes.
Yolanda Spinola.
Yes.
And John Hayes.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Now I will turn it over to Brenda Robinson, who will review the April 2023 financials.
Okay. Report for April 2023. At the end of April, we were in good financial condition, showing a 10.4% budget surplus. Statement of expenditures report shows total expenses for the month of $230,091.49. Cash position report shows income for the month of $145,432.10. Disbursements for the month were $326,887.48. The total cash available at month's end was $1,942,990.12. OPEB account had a gain of $18,485.97, bringing the ending balance in the OPEB account to $979,335.55. Budget resources report. Total receipts for the month were $145,432.10, bringing the total year-to-date receipts to $3,977,714.26. AAA report. Outstanding balance for AAA pass-through programs was $784,052.14. Outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman programs was $192,942.58. This brings the total outstanding balance for all AAA programs to $976,994.72. Voluntary transportation account, beginning balance was $174,454.23. Restricted fund payments to volunteers was $1,298.24. Donations received were $256.96, bringing the ending balance in the fund to $173,412.95. ROM's statement and activity. Balance at the beginning of the month was $170,205.88. I'm sorry, lost my place. Receipts worth $8,350, bringing the total receipts to $67,000. Expenses were $6,382.60. The total expenses, that brings the total expenses to $72,550.98. The ending statement balance was $171,449.98. Budget spend down report. Page 1, total expenditures was $1,866,559. The spent to date percentage at the rate at the end of April was 73%. The ideal percentage in the 10th month of the fiscal year would be 83.4%. So at month's end, we had a 10.4% surplus. Page 2 and page 3 show no changes. And lastly is the list of combined accounts payable and cash transfers. And that's the end of the April financial reports.
Thank you, Brenda. Does anyone have any questions on Brenda's report? If there are none, do we have?
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial report as given to us by Brenda.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, Mary, if we could have a roll call.
Yes, Becky Coletta,
Accept.
Stephen Santisonio,
Accept.
Frank Staffier,
Accept.
Maureen O'Toole,
Accept.
Sandra Wright,
Abstain.
Yolanda Spinola,
Accept.
and John Haynes.
Accept.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all. And now we get into the draft FY 2024 budget review that Brenda will lead us through.
And before Brenda does that, I just wanted to review that there's been some slight changes. So, right, so we're in the month of May, reporting on April. So we will not have, as we get into July, we'll have a better sense of our fiscal FY 23 year. But again, this budget has been on the finance agenda for the last several months. We try to get the council members acclimated, and I will let Brenda go from here. I just wanted to kind of give that little preview.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
First of all, just to so everyone understands what's happening on the sheet here. The the first column, the FY 23 budget shows the updated FY 23 budget, meaning that the budget we just looked at, these numbers may be somewhat changed. The next column, the OCPC FY 24 and ROM FY 24. You know, I need to see the top of the paper, Megan. Sorry, this is the projected budget numbers right now, as it stands right now. The third column shows the dollar change and the percentage change from FY 23 to FY 24. The next column just gives some reasoning as to what created the changes. And the final column is going to show you what the FY 23 budget is at the end of the month we are currently in. These are the total spent as of today, because I wanted to update it as far out as I could. So that said, the admin professional fees have increased by $5,000. Our new auditor is $35,000, and then the other $5,000 will be for consultant work, like Lisa, the work on the personnel policies or the financial policies that may come up. So that's what that change is. The next increase on the administrative books, dues, and subscriptions, 5% increase in memberships just because of inflation. No change to training and education, no change to advertising. The auto expenses are 74% increase only because we're always expecting that something might happen to the van. We're trying to have a little bit of money there to be prepared in case we do need to do some repairs. Building utilities, 7%, I'm sorry, 10% increase just for inflation. I'm not sure why that number in the column is different, but it's a 10% increase due to inflation to utilities. No change in building repairs, building business management. We all know that that increased by $2,500. That's a 3.3% increase. No change to equipment repairs, equipment purchases, equipment rental, equipment supplies. Fringe benefits have increased. I've increased fringe benefits by 3%, which goes right along with salary increases. I don't know what the new rates are for next year yet on the medical stuff. So I've just increased it by 3%, and that number may change by next month. Insurance, annual insurance increases due to inflation. I've increased that by 5% for insurances. Building loan interest, as the loan ages, the interest comes down each month. So I've decreased that one by 5%. No change in meeting expenses. Miscellaneous expenses is our surplus. Right now, we're showing a surplus based on projected income to expense. So right now we're sitting at $183,468 surplus. Office supplies, I've increased 10% inflation, and there's more in-office activity all the time, I think. Payroll service charges, salary increases. I've increased the service charges by 10% for, again, goes along with salary increases. No change in service charges, admin, other. Payroll taxes, salary increases at 15%. Printing, no change. Postage, no change. Rent, no change. Salaries have this number is larger than it will ultimately be, right? As it stands right now, it's increased by 23%, but that will definitely change. That will come down. I know it will.
And Brenda, we are adding some new staff to our.
And I know that it's everything is embedded in there, but I suspect that the number is larger than it needs to be. But again, once I get to the end of June, I'll have an actual number. No change in.
And that's just one second. That salary number, it includes both the merit increases, the longevity increases, as well as the new positions.
Yep.
And some of that may get adjusted because the new positions show a range of pay and things like that. So
exactly.
there's going to be some refinement. But even with that number being what you believe to be over-inclusive of those new positions and those merit increases, we still show the surplus that we show.
That's
which
correct.
I can't read
That's
the number,
correct.
but
yes.
Okay.
I can barely read it too, but it's a surplus for sure.
Yes.
Okay. Travel administrative, no change there. Direct travel, because we have increased our grants quite a bit. The increased grants means increased direct expenses. So that number, as you can see on the far right column, we're already at 90,000 just in this year because we've added grants. We've added grants over the last few months. So that's the reason for that increase. And I've only increased that by 3%. Telephone and internet, 10% increase for inflation. And OPEB benefits, we remain at 60,000. So there's no change there. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have one question.
Okay.
When we I know we have this whole question of pension and whether or not the state will take over any pension liability we're carrying as a footnote right now. And there've been some talk of whether there's a middle ground or some resolution that could happen. Mm-hmm. Mary, when we look at our budget, is there anywhere in the budget where we would include a potential settlement on that pension? Like, what could that be? What would that number look like?
So we have pulled together some scenarios. We asked Brenda to do that for the current staff as well as projected staff. 1%, 2%, 3%, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie. I think when we were getting to be about 3%, 4%, that might be a position, but it equates to somewhere around up to like 65,000.
Okay, so our surplus is still large enough to cover any resolution like that could come down the pike.
So I feel so, but I know that Charlie just unmuted himself. Charlie, from your perspective?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So as you said, you provided back to the Fremont strategies, the 1%, 2%, 3%. So 1% is basically $15,000 or $16,000. And that's what we're aiming for in some type of a settlement, and try not to go higher, but
Right.
we'll see how the negotiations go. And, it might be 2%. So that, be 30, but that would still obviously be doable. So.
And to your point, Becky, that within, let's call it the 183,000 in that miscellaneous, with all the new positions, with the merit increase, with longevity, feel still very comfortable with what could potentially be, right? Always prepare in case of emergency. That has really been taken into account. If that number was lower, I would be saying something different. So of the 13 regional planning agencies, there's 9 of us that fall into this category. There's Cape Cod has Barnstable County, and a couple of others have special legislation that it doesn't apply to. I know there was one regional planning agency on the conversation we had last week, the week before, I forget, who said that they could not afford even any contribution. So the regional planning agencies, have had the stance that we should not be contributing anything, because we are operating as a government entity and doing, city, town, state work. And right now, I'm not quite sure whether negotiations, or even if it's at that level of having, it hasn't come out of the Public Service Committee. And Senator Brady is the co-chair of that. And we've been keeping his office informed. So long story is that 183, I believe, can cover potential costs if that's going to happen. But I think we're a long way from having that mediation. There was a meeting, I think, this past week, Charlie, wasn't there, with Jeff Walker and Linda, with 2 of the members, but I don't have a result of that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we had it in the back of our minds so that our budget wouldn't preclude a resolution on something that's been hanging around for a while. So I appreciate that input. Thank you. I didn't mean to derail the conversation about next year.
So this item, Madam Chair, it would be that we are making recommendations that the council, the Finance Committee, make a fair. Do you want to go over the income, Brenda? Or maybe if you could just take a look at it for folks, just to do a high review of it.
I just wanted to add one more thing related to Becky's question. We had, when you note the cash position report with all of our accounts, we have over $1 million in liquid savings accounts spread across 3 accounts. And that's just, easy access liquid funds. And then we have in the custody account, we have $117,000. I'm sorry. So we do have funds in savings account if we would need those funds. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay. As far as the income, there have been a few new grants that have been added here. The EDA Brownfields grant, which that one's actually, the number might change on that, where that one's still we're still going back and forth with what the amount of money is going to ultimately be to OCPC. Trying to see what it just like, it's hard for me to see that it's very tiny. Safe Streets for All has been added in. Whoa, I can see it now. Safe Streets for All has been added in for $50,000. I think those are the 2 quickly new, a few things. The Hanson Master Plan and the East Bridgewater So the Hanson Master Plan and the East Bridgewater Master Plan have been moved out of FY23 and into FY24. So those numbers will also change. So I think everything else is pretty much the same. Yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. So those are the only changes on that page. On page 3, there's been no changes whatsoever. The page 3 just shows the pass-through funds. There you go. And that has not really changed at all. That's the same as it has been prior. So that's all I have to add about the income pages. So I think that's the full report for FY24 proposed budget as it stands at this moment.
And as we go to the end of May, at what point do we adopt the plan for 2024?
The staff is recommending that it be adopted at finance to be made a favorable report, and then it can be made to council.
Today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So given that we need to make a recommendation today, does anyone have any questions? And as you said, Mary, this is not the first time many of us have seen this budget. I don't know if anybody who hasn't seen it has any question, or if anybody who has seen it has sort of come up with questions as we go through it.
No.
Or if anybody, I'm sorry, go ahead. Frank, were you going to say something?
I think a recommendation is required.
Yeah, if we don't have any questions, then I would look for a motion to recommend the FY24 budget that's been proposed.
Also move, Madam Chairperson. I think Brenda and Mary, you have done a great job on that budget. It's not an easy thing to put together, and I would like to commend you, Becky, for taking over the role as the chairperson. And I just think that the OCPC is headed in the right direction with you people around.
I agree, Frank. Brenda and Mary and Charlie have done a really good job of pulling all of this together. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
I think that was Val Massard, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Val. Okay, Mary, could we have a roll call?
Becky Coletta.
Accept.
Stephen Santosonia.
Accept.
Noreen O'Toole.
Accept.
Frank Staffier.
Accept.
Sandra Wright.
Abstain.
Val Massard.
Accept.
John Hain.
Accept.
Yolanda Spinola.
Accept.
And I believe that is everyone. So it is a favorable recommendation with one abstention.
Thank you very much, everyone. So at this time, I think it's time for us to adjourn the finance meeting. For anybody who would like, we have the ROM finance, the finance/ROM or ROM/finance meeting that'll take place right after this. But for now, can I get a motion to adjourn the finance committee?
Motion.
Adjourn.
Thank you, guys. I think on this, we can just have a voice vote. I think all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. So